He has a wife or a girlfriend, yet he still keeps finding reasons to move closer to you. He sends messages at unusual hours. He looks at you a little longer than he should. He says things that feel personal, deep, and sometimes almost painful. And slowly, a dangerous question begins forming in your mind. If he already has someone, then why does he keep wanting me? Here is the difficult truth you need to understand. It can look like love. It can feel powerful. It can sound completely genuine. But very often, it is not a clear decision coming from the heart. It is confusion disguised as desire. It is emotional hunger pretending to be connection. It can be a man trying to escape something inside himself for a few moments by entering your world and calling that feeling destiny. And if you fail to recognize what is really happening, you may become trapped inside a story that was already falling apart before you ever entered it. Stay with me, because this is where the picture starts to change. What appears romantic from the outside can be deeply divided underneath. He is not simply caught between two women. He may be caught between two versions of himself. One wants responsibility, stability, and the life he already knows. The other wants freedom, excitement, attention, and something that feels new. He is standing between the life he created and the life he secretly imagines. And when that inner conflict becomes too uncomfortable, he looks outside himself for relief. Not necessarily because he has discovered the answer, but because he does not know how to face the question living inside him. He may genuinely feel attracted to you. He may become softer around you. He may appear nervous, emotional, intense, or unusually vulnerable. He may tell you that nobody has ever understood him in the way you do. He may even make you feel like there is something rare happening between the two of you. But human behavior is almost never that simple. People do not always pursue what they truly love. Sometimes they chase whatever awakens a part of them that has been silent for years. Sometimes they move toward a person who gives them temporary relief from a life they are afraid to confront. And this is a very important distinction. His attention toward you may have less to do with your special place in his future and more to do with what your presence makes him feel right now. Maybe you make him feel seen. Maybe you make him feel interesting again. Maybe conversations with you give him an emotional escape from responsibilities he has stopped enjoying. Maybe being around you reminds him of a version of himself he thought he had lost. None of this automatically means that he is ready to choose you. In fact, this is where many people become emotionally attached without realizing what is happening. They mistake the intensity of someone's feelings for the certainty of their intentions. But feelings can be intense and still be unstable. Attraction can be powerful and still be temporary. A person can miss you deeply and still refuse to change his life. Remember that, because it can save you from a great deal of confusion. He may be carrying old disappointments, emotional wounds, quiet frustrations, unmet needs, and private desires that he has never learned how to handle in a healthy way. Then someone new enters his world, someone who feels fresh, someone who listens differently, someone who brings energy, warmth, excitement, or emotional openness. Suddenly, everything inside him becomes louder. He begins connecting the feeling to you. He tells himself that this must be special. He starts thinking, I have never felt this way before. He may convince himself that you are the person he has been waiting for all along. But slow down for a moment and ask yourself something important. Is he actually seeing you as you are? Or is he seeing what he desperately wants to see? Because there is a huge difference between loving a real person and becoming attached to an image created inside your own mind. This is where the situation can become dangerous for your heart. You may be receiving intense attention, emotional conversations, secret messages, meaningful looks, and moments that feel impossible to ignore. You may start believing that there must be a deeper reason for all of it, but intensity does not equal truth. Sometimes intensity is simply two emotional needs colliding at the right moment. Sometimes a person feels overwhelmed because you represent something missing in his current life, not because he has discovered the person he is truly prepared to build a future with. And this is the part most people do not want to hear. A man can feel something real for you and still be completely unprepared to give you a real relationship. So when he keeps coming closer, do not immediately assume that his pursuit is proof that you are his destiny. Look at what he actually does with those feelings. Does he make clear decisions? Does he take responsibility for his situation? Does he create honest boundaries? Does he resolve the relationship he is already in before asking you to become emotionally involved? Or does he keep you in the middle, giving you just enough attention to keep hope alive while avoiding the decisions that would bring real clarity? That difference matters more than every late night message, every intense conversation, and every look that seems to say more than words ever could. Because a person can be emotionally drawn to you and still use you as an escape. He can admire your energy while remaining attached to the comfort of his existing life. He can tell you that you are different while continuing to behave exactly the same. He can say that he is confused, that the timing is complicated, that he needs time, and that he has never experienced something like this before. And maybe he believes every word, but belief does not create commitment. Feelings do not automatically create courage, and attraction does not erase responsibility. If you remember only one thing from this entire message, remember this. Never measure the depth of someone's feelings by the intensity of their pursuit. Measure it by the clarity of their actions, because real intention eventually becomes visible. It does not need endless secrecy, endless excuses, or endless uncertainty to survive. And here is where the story changes completely. Instead of asking, why does he want me if he already has someone? Start asking a stronger question. What is he actually willing to do about what he feels? That question takes you out of fantasy and brings you back to reality. Maybe he is fascinated by you. Maybe he thinks about you constantly. Maybe he feels emotionally connected to you. Maybe he even believes that meeting you happened for a reason. But none of those things tell you whether he has the emotional strength to build something honest. You should never have to decode someone forever. You should not have to compete with another relationship while waiting for him to decide what he wants. And you should not confuse being desired with being chosen. Those are two very different experiences. Being desired can make you feel powerful for a moment. Being chosen through clear, responsible action creates security. And if you are wondering why he keeps returning, why he keeps watching, why he keeps texting, why he keeps creating these intense moments, the answer may not be as romantic as you hoped. He could be responding to what you awaken inside him. He could be chasing a feeling he has been missing. He could be trying to reconnect with a version of himself that feels more alive around you. But until he takes responsibility for his own choices, you cannot know whether he wants you or simply wants what he feels when he is near you. And that distinction can change everything. Because sometimes what looks like a powerful connection is actually projection. Sometimes what feels like destiny is emotional escape. Sometimes what seems like a man finally recognizing your worth is simply a man discovering something about himself through your presence. And yes, you may have affected him. You may have touched something he had forgotten. You may have made him feel understood in a way he has not felt for a long time. But that does not make you responsible for saving him from his unhappiness. You are not supposed to become the secret doorway through which he escapes his own life. You are not supposed to carry the emotional weight of decisions he refuses to make. And you certainly should not have to shrink your standards just because his feelings seem intense. Pay attention to this next part because it is often the difference between heartbreak and self-respect. Do not focus only on how strongly he looks at you. Focus on how honestly he lives. Do not focus only on what he says when emotions are high. Watch what he does when there is something real at stake. Do not focus only on whether he misses you. Ask whether he respects you enough to give you clarity. Because anyone can create chemistry in a hidden space. Anyone can say beautiful things when there are no consequences. The real test begins when honesty requires sacrifice, responsibility, and a decision. And perhaps the hardest truth is this: you may be the person who awakens something inside him without being the person he is actually ready to choose. That can hurt because the connection may feel real, the emotions may be real, the attraction may be real, but something being real does not automatically make it healthy, available, or sustainable. A person can feel deeply and still behave selfishly. A person can care about you and still keep you waiting. A person can fear losing you while refusing to give you a secure place in his life. That is why you have to separate emotional intensity from emotional maturity. If he truly wants a future with you, eventually his behavior must move in the same direction as his words. There must be clarity. There must be accountability. There must be a willingness to deal honestly with the relationship he already has, instead of quietly building another emotional world with you on the side. Until then, protect your heart from becoming attached to potential. Do not fall in love with what he says he might do someday. Look at what he is doing today. Because the man who genuinely chooses you will not need you to live inside uncertainty forever. He may struggle, he may need time to make difficult decisions, but eventually his actions will speak clearly enough that you will not have to keep asking what you mean to him. And that is the real shift. Stop asking why he keeps coming closer. Start asking whether he is capable of coming closer honestly. Because the difference between those two questions can protect your peace, your dignity, and your future. You become the symbol of something he feels is missing inside himself. Not because you ever asked to carry that role, and not because you promised to repair his wounds, but because something about your presence awakens emotions he has pushed aside for years. Maybe he learned to hide his tenderness because he believed strength meant never showing too much feeling. Maybe he buried his adventurous side because control felt safer than uncertainty. Maybe he has lived inside the same routine for so long that he barely remembers what it feels like to be fully alive within his own life. Then you appear, and suddenly you are not simply attractive to him. You begin to feel like an answer, like freedom, like possibility, like emotional depth. You seem to represent a path back toward a version of himself he thought was gone forever. And that is why the attraction can become so powerful. It is not always about your appearance or even about who you are on the surface. It is about what your presence awakens inside his private emotional world. You remind him of something he has been missing. You make him feel something he has not allowed himself to feel. But here is the painful truth you need to see. When someone turns you into a symbol, they are often not truly seeing you as a complete human being. He may admire you. He may desire you. He may constantly look for you. He may place you on a pedestal. Yet he may still not actually know you. Not deeply. Because sometimes he is more attached to the emotional experience you create inside him than to the real person standing in front of him. And if you have ever experienced the strange feeling of being intensely wanted while somehow still feeling invisible, pay attention. That contradiction tells you something important. This is also why so many situations like this seem to follow almost the same emotional pattern. In the beginning, everything feels charged. The chemistry seems impossible to explain. Every conversation feels meaningful. Every glance feels loaded with something unspoken. Even the timing starts to feel almost unreal, as if life somehow arranged the meeting for a reason. He may tell you that you entered his life at exactly the right moment. He may say talking to you feels effortless compared with talking to his partner. He may tell you that you understand parts of him nobody else has ever noticed. He may say you have awakened something inside him that has been sleeping for years. And when you hear those words, while feeling the intensity between you, it becomes very easy to believe that this must be something extraordinary. But then reality slowly enters the picture. Your feelings become genuine. Your expectations become genuine. Your needs become genuine. And most importantly, your humanity becomes impossible to ignore. That is when the fantasy starts losing its perfect shape. The woman he imagined as completely free now has her own boundaries. The woman he loved for being emotionally warm now wants reliability. The exciting secret connection now requires honesty, consistency, and difficult choices. And this is where many men begin stepping backward. Not necessarily because the woman suddenly became worse, but because she stopped being an idea and became a real person. And a real person cannot remain someone else's perfect escape fantasy forever. No human being can carry the responsibility of being another person's rescue story indefinitely. No one can remain flawless once ordinary life enters the relationship. You cannot always be mysterious. You cannot always be available at the perfect moment. You cannot always say the perfect thing. Eventually, there will be questions, boundaries, disagreements, expectations, and moments when reality does not match fantasy. And that is often when the man who once appeared completely fearless begins to hesitate. He becomes less direct. He starts hiding his feelings. He delays important decisions. He creates excuses. The same intensity that once pulled him toward you suddenly begins to feel like pressure. And this is something you need to watch very carefully because it explains more than most people realize. The connection does not always collapse because it was too powerful. Sometimes it collapses because it was never rooted deeply enough to handle the truth. It survived inside imagination, secrecy, emotional escape, and fantasy. But once reality demanded responsibility, the foundation became visible. And if that foundation was weak, the entire emotional structure begins shaking. This is why you should never judge the strength of a connection only by how intense it feels in private moments. Intensity can create the illusion of depth, but depth is tested by honesty. Depth is tested by consistency. Depth is tested when feelings become inconvenient. Stay with me here, because the next part explains why his attraction can feel so difficult for even him to control. Underneath all of this, there may be another force at work that people often overlook. He may not only be chasing excitement, he may be chasing pieces of himself that he learned to suppress. Many men grow up receiving messages that certain emotions make them weak, complicated, embarrassing, or unacceptable. Fear is hidden. Vulnerability is hidden. The need for reassurance is hidden. Emotional dependence is hidden. Even simple happiness and tenderness can become difficult to express openly. So they create a version of themselves that appears strong, calm, successful, and completely in control. From the outside, everything may look stable, but inside, entire parts of their emotional world have been locked away. And buried feelings do not simply disappear because someone refuses to acknowledge them. They remain underneath the surface. They wait. They push against the walls. Eventually, something can trigger them. And sometimes that trigger is another person. So when he starts moving toward another woman, it may not always be only about physical attraction or attention. It can also become an attempt to recover something he feels he lost inside himself. Through her, he may experience freedom. Through her, he may feel wanted again. Through her, he may finally allow himself to express emotions he has kept hidden. He may feel excitement without having to admit how emotionally empty he has become. Suddenly, she becomes the place where everything missing from his ordinary life gets expressed. The passion he normally suppresses, the uncertainty he refuses to acknowledge, the tenderness he does not know how to request, the part of him that wants to feel alive again. And this is where the situation becomes much more complicated than simple attraction. He may still care about his partner. He may still love certain parts of his relationship. He may still appreciate his home, his history, his familiar routines, and the life they built together. Yet at the same time, that very life can begin reflecting back everything he has avoided facing. Routine, responsibility, expectations, duty, repetition, the identity he worked for years to create, the image of the man who has everything under control. And instead of confronting that conflict honestly, he may try to divide it between two different worlds. One woman represents stability, another represents freedom. One relationship represents the life he knows, the other represents the life he secretly imagines. And for a while, he may convince himself that he can live between both worlds without paying the emotional cost. But eventually, reality demands a choice. This is where many people get hurt, because the second woman may believe that the intensity means he has already chosen her emotionally. But emotional preference is not the same as a real decision. He can feel strongly about you while still refusing to change his circumstances. He can think about you every day and still return to the same life every night. He can miss you and still avoid responsibility. Never confuse emotional conflict with commitment. That distinction matters. And here is something even deeper. What looks like betrayal toward another person can also be a form of betrayal toward himself. He is not only hiding things from his partner, he is also hiding the truth about his own inner world. He has created a life that may no longer fully fit who he has become. But instead of admitting that honestly, he looks for another person to carry the feelings he cannot face. That is why these situations can become so emotionally consuming. You may think the central question is whether he loves you more than his partner, but that may not be the real question at all. The deeper question is whether he has the courage to understand himself without using another person as an escape route. Because if he has not faced his own dissatisfaction, another relationship will not automatically solve it. You can give him excitement, attention, understanding, warmth, and emotional closeness, but you cannot do his inner work for him. You cannot become responsible for the parts of himself he has refused to confront. And if he keeps making you the symbol of everything missing from his life, he may eventually blame the connection when the real problem was always somewhere deeper. This is why you have to protect yourself from becoming someone's emotional fantasy. Being idealized can feel beautiful at first. It can make you feel special, rare, unforgettable. But being idealized is not the same as being understood. Someone who truly sees you will eventually see your flaws, your boundaries, your needs, your ordinary days, your difficult moods, and your real expectations. They will not only love the version of you that gives them escape, they will respect the real woman who exists beyond the fantasy. So if he keeps coming closer while still living another life, do not only ask what he feels when he looks at you. Ask what your presence represents to him. Ask what part of himself he is trying to recover through you. And most importantly, ask whether he is willing to face his own truth without making you responsible for it. Because the moment you understand that, the entire situation starts looking different. What once seemed like destiny may reveal itself as projection. What seemed like an unstoppable connection may simply be an emotional awakening he has not yet learned how to handle. And what seemed like your responsibility may finally return to where it belongs, with him. He has not admitted what feels empty inside him. He has not faced what he truly wants in secret. He has not taken responsibility for the distance between the life he shows everyone and the life he secretly longs to live. So instead of doing the difficult adult work of changing what no longer fits, he reaches for temporary relief. He wants passion without consequences. He wants honesty without having to confess the truth. He wants freedom without having to lose anything. He wants another emotional world where he can feel alive while keeping the first world exactly where it is. And for a while, living between those two worlds can feel powerful. It can make him believe he has finally found the missing pieces of himself. It can feel like he has recovered emotions he thought were dead. But that feeling is temporary. It is a rush, not a solution. It does not heal the emptiness. It does not bring his divided parts together. It does not make him more complete. It simply pushes the difficult moment further into the future. The moment when he has to face who he has become and why he cannot seem to live according to one honest truth. This is where people often become confused. They see the intensity and assume it must mean depth. But intensity is not always depth. Sometimes intensity is simply inner conflict becoming emotionally explosive. Sometimes the strongest attraction comes from the deepest unresolved wound. And if he keeps blaming circumstances, blaming timing, blaming his partner, blaming his responsibilities, or blaming life itself, while refusing to make a clear decision, then the real problem is not that he feels too much. The problem is that he has not become honest enough to love in a clean and responsible way. Stay with this idea because it changes the entire way you look at his behavior. Another reason this pattern can continue for so long is that he has mentally separated women into different emotional roles. One woman becomes the symbol of stability, while another becomes the symbol of excitement. One represents home, routine, family, respect, security, and the version of himself that everyone already knows. The other represents desire, escape, fantasy, emotional freedom, and the side of himself he only reveals in small pieces. This separation gives him a way to avoid the hardest task of all, bringing his entire self into one honest relationship. Because doing that would require real vulnerability. It would require accountability. It would require him to be completely exposed. He would have to allow one person to see everything, the responsible side and the impulsive side, the confident side and the insecure side, the loyal side and the restless side, the part that wants safety and the part that wants freedom. For someone trapped in this pattern, that level of honesty can feel frightening. So instead, he creates compartments. He keeps one relationship connected to security and another connected to emotional intensity. He shows one version of himself in one place and a completely different version somewhere else. As long as those two worlds never fully meet, he can avoid confronting the contradictions inside his own personality. But pay attention now, because this is where many women finally begin to see the situation clearly. The moment you ask for wholeness, he may become uncomfortable. The moment the secret connection needs real time, real consistency, real honesty, and a real place in his life, his fear can suddenly become obvious. Because what he wanted was not always a future with you. Sometimes what he wanted was a private emotional space where he could feel alive without having to rebuild anything. So how can you tell whether you are actually being chosen as a partner or simply being used as an emotional escape? The clues are usually there, even when strong feelings make them difficult to recognize. Does he mostly reach out when he is bored, overwhelmed, lonely, angry, frustrated, or unhappy at home? Does his attention suddenly become intense whenever his life feels difficult, only to disappear again when things become comfortable?